Hello and very warm welcome from Sea Lanes Brighton, where we're live streaming for this very special event, Sussex Bay 1 Year On. I'm Rob Allcroft, I'm founder of Way Forward. We're a Sussex-based social purpose strategy consultancy, and it's my pleasure and my privilege to be your host for the next 90 minutes. We're here this afternoon to catch up with Sussex Bay 12 months on from its launch at Brighton Dome's Corn Exchange. We'll be hearing from the Sussex Bay team. They'll be telling us what they've been up to for the last year, and they'll also be answering some of your questions in a Q&A later. More about that coming up. Now, when we talk about Sussex Bay, we don't just mean the team that you're about to meet. Sussex Bay as an entity exists to facilitate the bold collaboration across our region. It enables, it supports, it removes barriers for seascape recovery projects both now and in the future. Now, Sussex Bay, of course, is also a place, and it's home to some incredible nature recovery work already underway on the ground and in the water. Community groups, businesses, charities, universities, individuals, all working with a shared goal of nature's recovery. We're going to be hearing from some of those voices as well today. First of those voices is Sam Zindel. He's a Sussex-based business leader and climate and nature champion. He has founded a number of environmental initiatives, including Low Carbon Leaders and most recently Gen R, which is a hope-filled movement to spread belief that we can, in this generation, restore our balance with nature. Now, Sam is actually on stage at Glastonbury right now, promoting Gen R. So I caught up with him last week to ask him about his personal connection to Sussex Bay.
Sussex Bay for me is one of the best examples in the UK of a mature nature recovery program, and I guess I'm really behind it because I can see that it's actually having impact rather than just talking the talk. There's a lot of work going on, which I'm delighted to see and really want to get behind. On a personal level as well, I guess I just bring my kids out into nature as and when I can, particularly down to the beach. We're obviously lucky to have this wonderful coastline that runs right past where we live, and I think, to be honest, the number one thing that anyone can do to engage with Sussex Bay is actually just experience the nature that's here itself, because when you feel more connected with the coastline and the sea and what's inside in the water, you can very easily then sort of become a supporter because you really identify with it. And unless you actually experience it, you're sort of on the sidelines.
And I really want to talk to you about generation restoration and Gen R, which is a project that I know you're working on. Please tell us more about that.
It's something I've launched this year. Again, I'm using some of the time that I put aside for climate action. It's really born out of the idea that I've read some studies around people in the UK where it suggests that 80% of people are concerned or very concerned about climate change. And yet so few people are invited to really become part of the solution for that. And I think feeling quite overwhelmed, or potentially a bit anxious, or actually just, I can't think about this right now, got too much going on. And I guess I'm here to try and invite people into a new movement. I've called it Gen R, which, as you pointed out, stands for Generation Restoration. And the idea about this is you can do more than recycling. You can actually engage in nature recovery. What I love about being in Sussex is that Sussex Bay is just one of a number of projects that you can use your time to give to, and really call yourself part of Gen R, this idea that within our lifetime, we might be able to restore balance with the natural world for future generations. And that's kind of what Gen R stands for. And I suppose what I'm trying to appeal to with this movement is it's for the environmental moderate. So it's not for necessarily activist-minded people. It's certainly not for climate change deniers, but it's for that 80% of people in the middle that perhaps don't have much time, aren't quite sure what to do to be part of the solution, but can join this community of people that just want to do a little bit more. And those things can be really, really simple. And it could be literally as simple as engaging with nature, bringing your family or your kids to the beach for the day. It might be something you do anyway, but actually while you're there, observe, see what's going on, identify with the wildlife that's there, and just take it 1% more. I kind of like to think of maybe the program that Gen R is rolling out as like a couch to 5K for environmentalism. And there's so much that people can get involved with.
You do so much for nature as a nature advocate. Is there anything else you want to mention? Take this opportunity to talk about.
I suppose I really see one of the keys to unlocking kind of behaviour change, which is the big kind of thing that isn't talked about as much in this whole climate debate, is having a really positive mindset. I've got really frustrated about how environmentalism has been dragged into the culture wars, and it's sort of got a bad reputation, and that's really quite hard to get your head around when you think about it. So making our world cleaner, brighter, more full of life, can often be dragged into this position, which is seen as quite a negative space for some people. They feel conscious about it. So my real goal is to pull that whole argument back into popular culture, so we can engage with this topic when we're at gigs, when we're watching sport, when we're looking at art and telling stories in that kind of really emotive area. And so the whole goal of what I'm trying to do is link nature to popular culture moments that put a smile on people's faces and create a really positive energy behind it. And in a way, the kind of what that does is secondary, but the reason we're doing it is to unlock funds and engage people in participating in nature recovery work on the land and in the sea. And those projects are beautifully forming, but it just needs a much bigger audience around it and people that are going to support it and have a bigger impact. And so for me, it's perhaps even less about some of the projects and more about just the galvanizing more and more people into this area has become a focus, certainly for this year for me and over the coming years. And I really hope that one of the projects that Gen R can support will be Sussex Bay.
Great. And Sussex Bay is a brilliant thing for, as you described it, galvanizing efforts and facilitating coordination and collaboration. What's your hope for the future for Sussex Bay, for the area, for the project?
Yeah, well, what I love about Sussex Bay is we often think about climate breakdown as this huge global issue. It's the whole planet. We've got to save the planet. That's really hard for most people to access and to find a home within. So breaking that down into bite-sized chunks, a 100-mile stretch of coastline located in Sussex that you can visit if you live here very, very easily. And it's probably a part of the country that you've got a connection with already, because if you've lived here all your life, or you've raised your kids here, or you work here, you can identify with it. You sort of know the landscape here. So for me, the hope is that by breaking down this huge global issue into looking after your local patch, doing a small action, that if you then combine that with lots of other local areas, taking Sussex Bay further afield, we could have a huge impact, because all of those small actions, imperfect as they may be, related to your own local area, all add up to something that could be quite substantial. And just a final point on that, what I absolutely love about Sussex Bay, that it's just leading, it's role modelling, it's showing a new way. And I think that's so important. I'm so proud that that's happening right on my doorstep. And anything that I can do and bring others into this to help is a real focus of my energy.
If there was one message you could get out to everyone in Sussex, what would it be?
My message to people that live in this area is really just start to connect a little more with the natural world. Sussex Bay is one way to do that, because there's a fully formed project there along a coastline that you can visit and learn about. But it might literally just be at the end of your road. It could be a park, it could be a forest, it could be the South Downs, it could be any of those spaces. And I think Sussex Bay is shining such a beacon on the potential to restore our natural world, that as a citizen, all you need to do is really just take a minute out of your day to just think about that for yourself. You could literally even be working from home, look out of the window and just spot a bird flying through the sky. You don't have to become like a passionate environmentalist. I think it's just recognizing that as a human on this planet, we're just one tiny little part of this huge system, and that system is in trouble, and actually we can do something about it. So connect with it, be aware of it, and then act on it. And if one way to access that is through Sussex Bay, then just go for it. Don't even think about it.
Thank you, Sam. Great to talk to you, and I wish you all the best at Glastonbury. Now, before we move on, I'd just like to take a moment to tell you about the Q&A session we have coming up later. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions when you registered for the event. We've consolidated your questions, and we'd like now to invite you to vote on which ones you'd like to see me put to the panel in the Q&A. The poll will be open for about half an hour, so this will give you some time to watch a couple of presentations before you cast your votes. I'll give you a reminder when it's about to close. And then later on, I'll put as many questions as we have time for to the panel, to the Sussex Bay team. So without any further ado, I am delighted to introduce you to the head of Sussex Bay, Dean Spears. Dean is going to give us an overview of the progress and the achievements of Sussex Bay over the last year, and also take a look ahead at some of the plans afoot. Dean.
Welcome to Sussex Bay. 100 miles of coastline for over 1.5 million residents. It's my absolute pleasure to be with you here today from Brighton Sea Lanes. Can you believe, folks, it's been 1 year since we were on the stage at Brighton to report on the progress. Well, I'm very pleased to announce that today we've published 2 documents, a blueprint for seascape recovery and also annual report, which delves into some of the details of some of the exciting things we're going to talk to you about today. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you in particular for Dame Joanna Lumley, who writes with such care. Sussex Bay is no ordinary environmental project. Absolutely fabulous and absolutely correct, because we're on a mission. We see a vision in which nature, people and economy can thrive together. To deliver that, we are on a mission to generate a £50 million fund for nature-led recovery, because there is no funding for the ocean, and that's where we come in. On stage last year, I said that we would do 3 things. I'm delighted to announce that we have opened the UK's first Blue Natural Capital Lab and have attracted £1.2 million of funding in our first year for nature-led recovery projects. I said on stage that I wanted to be careful and spend every pound carefully in community and science-led research areas, and we'll talk more about our blueprint for seascape recovery, which does just that. And of course you. I wanted communities, people, individuals to get on board and help us shape Sussex Bay and that vision together. We'll do that through a programme of engagement about to be announced, and also through our ocean literacy survey. We're a small but mighty team of 3. I'm proud to work with Dr. Lewis White and Dr. Alini, Science and Research and Engagement Leads respectively, and we are proud to be immersed in a network of over 450 organisations working day in, day out to put nature and people first together. And I'm incredibly proud to work with Paul Brewer, Interim CEO of Ada and Worthing Councils. We work with all of the councils and we're funded without public funds. Thank you to some of our funders who are on the call today. It's very much appreciated. £1.2 million is a fantastic start, but there's a mountain to climb together. In addition to Blueprint and annual report, you can read more about our ocean literacy survey online as well, and we'll upload those documents on our website later. We often hear statistics about people not visiting the sea. Before Christmas, we worked with primary school pupils in Worthing, and with the help of the Sea Life Centre and Sussex Dolphin Project, took them to the Sea Life Centre and then rock pooling on the beach for the first time. When I got back to the office, I received floods of emails from parents, pupils, guardians, letting me know that their pupil was really quiet and withdrawn previously, but after visiting the beach was full of life. We're looking at how we can scale that out and do more, and we welcome your ideas and thoughts on this. I'm going to highlight now some personal highlights before I outline what's coming up and a call to action. Thank you, Sussex Wildlife Trust, for providing this beautiful image. Every day I'm in awe at the wonderful species that we have on our doorstep in Sussex Bay. Tompot blenny, dolphins, cuttlefish, and here, snakelocks. How beautiful is this? When you see them, when you're out and about, keep a safe distance. It's fantastic that their tentacles illuminate at night, but keep a safe distance because they tend to sting a little bit. People, generation restoration. Sussex Bay adheres to those principles of being hopeful, kind, in it together. No one can do this on our own. And I'm excited that we'll be making use of the generation restoration principles in our future engagement work. Stepping out of Sussex Bay briefly, we are constantly in awe of international projects who contact us and we contact them. I'm going to highlight 2. This example is from Chile, and it's a 60-hectare former landfill site, where a robust management plan over the years with fantastic intergenerational engagement with communities has led to a transformation of the area. Something like 180 bird species are found in this area, and it has echoes of our blueprint and area-wide approach. Watch this space, folks. Moving to Europe as a Spaniard, I always highlight Spanish examples. I'm in awe at the south of Spain in Cartagena. We'll be going there in a few weeks to do some citizen science there with the government. But the Spanish government have built an underwater archaeological museum where members of the public communities can get together with community groups and organisations working in the marine space. I'm daydreaming, but wouldn't it be fantastic to have a space like that in Sussex Bay, a home for Sussex Bay, and all of the partners who wish to come together. How we do that needs lots of thinking, but watch this space. We've been engaging with businesses in terms of sharing our ideas and thoughts and feedback. Thank you, RAP, especially for hosting Sussex Bay in a business breakfast to help us do just that, and more than that. Thank you, RAP, again, for being our first business to donate 1% of their revenue to Sussex Bay. The Sussex Bay 1% Business Club is open for business. If you're a business and an organisation and you'd like to be our second business, get involved now to help us shape this initiative for the long term. Thank you, Ed, Sarah, and all of the businesses at RAP for providing us with a wonderful work home. We have decided in our first year to split that funding with the Sussex Dolphin Project, who desperately need a research vessel. We've kept our crowdfunder open following public request. If you're a project and you'd like to feature on there, get in touch with us. Equally, if you can, our Sussex Bay t-shirts are a hot seller. We're bringing out some more designs along with boat trips on the Sussex Dolphin projects as well. It would be wrong not to highlight some of the wonderful examples of organisations working in our part of the world. The Surf Project, who do surf therapy for young people in Southwick, the numerous beach schools, the Black Tribe, who have fantastic swimming lessons for adults. Fishers, we'll talk about them shortly. But front and centre of this slide, you have Eric and Katrine from Sussex Underwater, who have done such an amazing thing over the past year, becoming a charity. All of the work that you and your members do, especially with Sir David Attenborough. Eric and Katrine, Sussex Bay would not be Sussex Bay without you. Thank you. On stage last year, I said that Sussex Bay would stand by our fishing communities, and we have done just that. It's been great to get to know fishers in Worthing, Shoreham-by-Sea, Bognor, Newhaven and more. The photograph shows a new community base for Worthing fishers, funded without public funds, funded by the Marine Management Organisation, Sussex Bay, and some planning gain from Adrian Worthing councils. Thank you, Julian Church B Corp, for helping me project manage the construction of this. Work is ongoing, the electric company will be in there this weekend, and we look forward to helping our fishing communities move in there over the summer months. We're thinking what to do and how to help more fishing communities. I'm really excited about a housing association in Hastings, which provide housing for retired fishers, fisher communities, who've reached out to us asking for our help. Watch this space, folks. Along the way, along the year, we became a location partner for the government's Innovation Accelerator. Photograph shows us working with 4 businesses, organisations to test out AI, new technology to help people make their connection to nature. What a fantastic thing that is, bringing new funding, ideas and technology in Sussex Bay for future generations. This is amazing. 2 weeks ago, Sussex Bay was invited to Parliament at the request of coastal Sussex MPs to learn more about Sussex Bay and then to think together how we could engage more communities around our work. I can tell you folks, first to go to university from my family, inner city Birmingham, all those years ago in the council estates, going into Parliament is a great humbling privilege, and I was proud to talk about you and all the work that you do and we do across Sussex Bay. Quick peek at what's coming up. We'll continue with the mission. 1.2 million is a great start. We hope to be around 2 million by Christmas, but there's still a mountain to climb in terms of the UK Blue Natural Capital Lab. We're working behind the scenes at all the techie things we have to do there to make sure that our funding is high integrity and ethical. We'll talk more today about our blueprint for seascape recovery and announce more ways for you to get involved and help shape that work. Our priority is nature and communities, but as we've been going along, people are talking to us about fishing, economy, tech, jobs and more, and we're really keen to welcome ideas and think about how you and we shape Sussex Bay together. Some of our partners have asked for a strengthening of partners and partnerships to think together how we can share expertise, share knowledge and also share the benefits of Sussex Bay, so that Sussex Bay is not ours, it's yours, it's all of ours, and we look forward to doing that very shortly. In terms of community engagement, we'll talk more about this shortly, but I'm thrilled to work with the principles of generation restoration to develop a Sussex Bay Community Champion Network, all focused around our blueprint, our vision, so that you can get involved and have your say. I'm thrilled to announce that Sussex Bay is the community partner for BARCO, the Black Anti-Racism Organisation, at the end of July. and we'll be sponsoring their community event in St Answell's Gardens in Hove for everyone. And with Alini, we're looking at doing, and Bud, we're looking at doing some fantastic engagement there to welcome people who do not usually get involved in this space. Watch this space. Hashtag Sussex Bay. We're doing lots of work online as well. We worked with the South Coast Marine Coastal Forum, SMACF, recently, and their members gave us great feedback. We are looking at hosting an online platform where Sussex Bay can upload our events, initiatives online, and then if you want to, if you're an organisation, if you want to recruit volunteers or invite more people to get involved, you can use our platform for free. If you'd like to join the steering group for that initiative and help us shape it, get involved. We'd love to have you on board. Penultimate slide. Let's go back to nature. I'm in awe at this photograph. Just look what we've got going on here, folks. Keep access clear at all times. Nah. Here's a badger strolling in, looking up at a Banksy-esque inspired image of themselves and it's, for me, this is a stark reminder that nature is all around us, however much humans may try and control it. Thank you, Ian, for providing that image. What a powerful reminder that is in terms of our relationship with nature. And now, finally, we've announced calls to action throughout these slides, and we'll announce more in the sessions coming up. But a reminder, the next big thing will be lots of small things. We don't want to and can't do this all on our own. We want to work with yourselves. And finally, it just leaves me to say this. Sussex Bay is for everyone. Whoever you are, whatever your background, wherever your interest, wherever your care, we are Sussex Bay. Thank you ever so much, and please join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Great to hear about all the work that's been going on. We're now going to hear from two other members of the Sussex Bay team. First up is Dr. Lewis White, who's the Seascape Research and Recovery Lead. He's going to dive into the science for us and tell us a bit about why he's producing a strategic blueprint for seascape recovery in Sussex. Lewis.
Hello, yes, I am Lewis, the Science and Research Lead for Sussex Bay. And I'm going to be answering the question, why a blueprint, and looking at the science that goes behind it. Now, to do that, I'm going to talk a bit about our approach, then go into a bit about the how, so the methodology, look at some of the results that we've been doing for this over the last year, and then have a bit of a forward look. So bear with me. So why a blueprint? Well, to look at Sussex Bay, you can do it in a number of different ways. Here's a series of maps that showcase the diversity of our seabeds, which support diversity of species, the riverine and waterine inputs and our coastal habitats, as well as a map from 1883, what shows that the blue mussel reef, which used to go along our coastline and what Sussex used to be. We need to take all of these different pieces of information into consideration as we start to plan for the future. But Sussex Bay might also look like this. It's where you spend time with your family, it's where you go and do recreation, it might be where you're employed and where you earn your income. It's where you look out and know that there are a diversity of species which call it home and where they raise their young, or where you get your food from. Now, all of that's complex and all of it fits together in many different ways, and that is why a blueprint. When you're working in architectural construction, a blueprint tells you what materials you need to use to be appropriate for where you are, where you might put the window to get the best natural light, and then the construction methods that you might use. Importantly, that blueprint will be designed for its particular use, so you can get the nuances of how people are going to use that space. For the blueprint for seascape recovery, our materials are research within the ecological, environmental sciences, social sciences, and economics. And this research will tell us about where things need to happen. Those locations might be important sites for sea swimmers. They might be where kelp beds once were or are now, and they might be important dolphin feeding grounds. But we need to know this information to plan for change. Our construction methods are broad, from protection and management to changes of people's practices and potentially active restoration. To do all of those, we need to collaborate broadly with the correct authorities, environmental charities, and communities at large. And that is what we're aiming to do. But how? So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the methodology that goes behind this. We're utilising natural capital approaches, which showcases the environment as a series of assets, as in habitat, species, and the water that flows across it, and the services that they provide to wider environment, but as well as to society. Those services have a benefit to people, and then we can value that. That's not necessarily economic value. It's also about well-being, as well as nature as a thriving asset and benefit in itself. This natural capital, or these assets, our nature, is impacted by a series of pressures which we need to manage, as well as enabling for perfect and maximal service delivery, ensuring that we have equitable access to those natural assets. Now, a little bit more about what those services are, as showcased in this wheel here. So this is the benefits from the sea wheel, which is produced by Nature Scott. It showcases the diversity in benefits that the sea provides to us, as well as in and of itself. It's an important area for water cycling, nutrient cycling, carbon sequestration. It provides us with food and energy, as well as enhances our well-being. In addition to being a home for species such as plants, animals, algae, this place has deep-rooted connections with the cultural identity of Sussex. We need to take all of this into consideration as we start to determine where we need to have action and what that action is to provide maximal benefit for nature and for us. So this is a look back at the year so far in terms of the results that we've been collecting. As Dean teased, we produced our Ocean Literacy Survey earlier this year with 1,805 respondents from across Sussex. This is it after the national survey, which occurred in 2021. This survey really highlights some of the importance of the marine and coastal environments to the people of Sussex. For those of you that don't know, ocean literacy is a measure of one's knowledge of their impact on the ocean, but also the influence of the ocean on an individual. What was stark was that the highest emotion that people feel when they consider the marine environment was concern. So from all of the people that we interviewed and surveyed within Sussex, 44% used the word concern. To me, that's a really hopeful word here, because it shows that people care. They care about our marine environment, and that means that they are adaptable and want to change for it. As you can see from the information on the slide on the right, this is a really mixed in what people see, and we need to understand that information for our work that we're doing in terms of who we should be targeting for conversations and the sort of conversations that we should be having. Here are a few more results. The bottom graph there showcases how people consider that the marine environment is exceptionally important for their mental and physical health, showing that we need to ensure that access is sustained. Really exciting is that 70% of people declare to have taken action to support the ocean. That's compared to 55% nationally, again showing that people in Sussex truly care about their marine environment. And importantly, people on the survey listed the top 3 aspects that they feel that they engaged from the marine environment as a habitat for plant and species, showcasing that nature is important as itself, but as well as food to eat and renewable energy, showcasing the diversity of benefits that we understand we receive and the sorts of industries that we need to be supporting. Again, we've been working with our fishing community to understand ecology and education. So we have been producing with experts interactive boards, along with some animations and amazing videos to showcase how sustainable fishing can help benefit the marine environment over that of unsustainable practices. And we will continue to do this work to educate the public on how we can move forward by supporting these small-scale fishing industries. Now, over the last year and with tons of partners, we've been looking at the important areas of Sussex Bay. You can see from this slide here some of the important assets that we understand we have and why they're important. From the fact that our sandy seabeds are home to flatfish species like Dover sole, to the fact that blue mussels are potentially beginning to return under the nearshore trawling bylaw area. And thank you for SKRP for some of the amazing information that you've provided us to look into this. We also know that porpoises are big fans of the chalk reefs off Seven Sisters. There's a diversity of information that we've been collecting, including where people are accessing the marine environment and how, what is stopping them from doing so, and things that are major concerns, such as water quality, which came out in our Ocean Literacy Survey as a big concern for much of the public. We're going to be using all of this information and everything we've been showing you so far to start planning for the future. Now, a quick forward look. We're going to be publishing our blueprint for seafloat recovery, the story so far, which showcases some of the information and evidence we've been collecting and slowly mapping where the important assets are and the benefits that we get from them. This is the first part in our journey. Next, we'll be developing part 2, planned for a thriving Sussex Bay. Here, we need to work collaboratively with organisations and communities across the Bay to ensure that we are getting the right information and the right people in the room to set our objectives for a positive future. We're beginning to look at, from this evidence, what our first projects in the water might be, and importantly, as I mentioned, there are a diversity of construction methods that we might need to use. Recovery, restoration, sustainability and adaptability are all important parts of this journey. Now, a thriving Sussex Bay cannot be restored by ecological interventions alone. It must also be restored in the hearts and minds and hands of those that live along its shore. And you'll be hearing more about the importance of that later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lewis. We're now going to hear from Dr. Alina da Silva Sequeira, who is the Participation and Engagement Lead. Alina's going to describe to us how the future of Sussex Bay is a shared vision being shaped together as a community. Alina.
Hello, I'm Alina Sequeira, and I'm going to talk to you about our engagement plan. So, Sussex Bay is an amazing place, and I'm very biased because I live in Sussex Bay. And we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary, our 1-year milestone. And this is a good moment for us to reflect and to look forward to what is ahead. So during the past year, Sussex Bay attended community events, workshops, conferences, day out with partners, and in all these occasions we heard one question. We listened to people and people asked the same question: how can we help restore our marine environment? So that tells us that Sussex Bay is not a recovery program only. Sussex Bay is also about connecting people to the marine environment and enabling this connection. And that's why participation and engagement is so important to our blueprint for the recovery of the marine environment. So why engagement matter? Well, engagement matter because underpins the work we are planning to do. And our work, our engagement approach needs to be inclusive. Why does it need to be inclusive? It is because we need all the voices. We need to represent all the voices in our recovery strategy. And this is important because only by representing the people who live in Sussex Bay in our recovery initiatives, we are able to ensure its legitimacy, its relevance, and the resilience of our initiatives. So why Sussex and why now? Well, Sussex Bay is a very interesting place. There is lots going on. And one of the most amazing aspects of Sussex Bay is certainly how ecologically diverse Sussex Bay is. Sussex Bay has a variety of different environments. Everyone knows the white cliffs, everyone knows the shingle beaches, and some of us will be privileged enough to know our reefs. And Sussex Bay is biologically diverse. So you are seeing some of the amazing creatures that inhabit Sussex Bay. And these pictures have been taken off the coast of Shoreham, Lancing, Brighton, Worthing, Bognor Regis by local divers. And what these pictures tell us is that each of them highlight the importance of protecting our ocean, because these creatures, they don't have a voice. These creatures don't have a choice. What they have is their home and us to help safeguard what is rightfully theirs. But Sussex Bay is also historically degraded. To begin with, Sussex Bay is located on the English Channel, which is the busiest stretch of ocean surrounding the British Isles. So it is very polluted at places, and there is the pollution we see and there is the pollution we can't see, such as water contaminants from sewage and other existing contaminants in the area, but also noise and light. And also there is damaging fishing practices such as dredging and trawling. But Sussex Bay is also a very vibrant location. But there is also uneven awareness about what can be done. But there is also a lot of opportunity for us to engage our communities. And in this slide, you are seeing just a small sample of projects and initiatives we are reaching out to, and we have established conversations about how we can support one another. It is amazing to be, and it is an absolute privilege to be part of such a vibrant and amazing network of great minds, big hearts, and a lot of experience. In this map, you have a collection, a number of organizations that we have identified, and we are going to be reaching out to them to talk more about Sussex Bay and how we can support one another. So Sussex Bay has been out and about, going to schools, talking to children and to listen to their views, which is very important, of course, and talking to partners. We have been exposing ourselves to questions and to engaging with a variety of local initiatives. So it is a two-way street. We listen and we are able to talk about our vision and how we can work together. So what's next? So we are currently developing our participation and engagement plan, and this is a work in progress. So during the next 12 months, you will be seeing our the rollout of our champion Sussex Bay Champions network, which is going to be very important to replicate information and to also provide existing champions that work with a variety of other projects to be able to spread out the word and also provide them with the training to support our recovery of the marine environment. And we are going to also conduct some workshops in communities to listen to their views, to understand what is important to them, what are the barriers they see for recovery, and how they can engage and be able to lead some of these initiatives. One of the projects we're very excited about, and we are collaborating with Wild to Waves, is the Blue Natural Curriculum, which is going to be a project we are going to launch in the next academic year. And this project has been specially designed for secondary school teachers and students to help them explore our local nature, but also to explore pathways into the marine sector as a career. And next, there are some exciting opportunities as well, where we are planning to bring the ocean to the people who cannot reach the ocean. So we will promote some talks, but we're going to be using some technologies as well, such as VR with real videos recorded along the Sussex coast, and also opportunity to listen to the ocean via soundscape listening. But also, watch this space, we're going to be launching Sussex Bay podcast, an opportunity for us to showcase some of the voices, the important voices in Sussex Bay, and talk about initiatives and questions and opportunities for us all to engage with. So Sussex Bay is about cultural and human capital, and also natural capital. These are inseparable aspects of one thing, which is our seascape. So our ambition is not to finish with our engagement and participation during the next 12 months, but also make sure that our initiative is sustained across the years ahead. So now I'm going to leave you with a short film that's going to feature some of the main stars of Sussex Bay.
Thank you, Eleni. We'll be hearing more from Eleni, Lewis and Dean in our Q&A session coming up very shortly. Now, I mentioned earlier that Sussex Bay is about enabling bold collaboration across the sector. And we're about to hear from three of the voices whose work really sort of demonstrates that collaboration. But first, just a quick reminder that the poll for the Q&A is about to close. So if you haven't put your votes in yet, please do so now. Before the Q&A though, as I say, we're going to head to the voices from Sussex Bay. And first up, we're going to hear from the brilliant Sussex Wildlife Trust, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with and very fondly familiar with. I'm sure a lot of people attending this webinar are members. And I'm so pleased to welcome Marine Conservation Officer Sarah Ward, who's going to tell us about a fantastic circular economy project happening right here, right now, on the coast of our Sussex. Sarah.
Hi there, yeah, so my name is Sarah Ward and I am the Marine Conservation Officer at Sussex Wildlife Trust, and I'm going to be talking about the Sussex Net Regeneration Scheme, which we work on collaboratively with Sussex Bay. So the sort of underlying rationale for having this programme of work is to create a sustainable and cost-effective pathway to recycle end-of-life fishing gear in a really meaningful way, and that is sort of through novel technology that isn't available in sort of normal local recycling programs. We have to sort of create a special way of doing this to make it meaningful and make sure that those materials are actually recycled in a way that they can be reused. So we work at the moment in collaboration, as I say, with Sussex Bay, who also have kindly provided some funding towards the current programme of work. We're also working with Shore and Port, who do brilliant work on the ground with the fishers that work in Shore and Port, and Odyssey Innovation, who are sort of an underlying partner that really help in terms of the actual recyclability of all of these materials, because as I mentioned earlier, the material, we can't just do it locally here, it has to be kind of broken down in specialist recycling centres in order to put it into something that can then be reused again. So the reason for having this programme of work is because currently or previously most fishing gear which has reached the end of its lifespan ends up either in landfill or incinerated, which is obviously not great. Occasionally materials do also become lost at sea, and what we really want to do is just create a better way of dealing with those materials. So gears are often a real mix of materials, which is what makes it very difficult to recycle, you know, because of the fact that you've got all different types of plastic, nylon, rope, various different things all mixed together, making it not very desirable for normal sort of recycling programs. But there is a value in plastic as a resource, and what we need to be doing more of as society is valuing those plastics that are already created and reusing them in a way that means that we maybe don't need to create new virgin plastic. So the programme of work actually began a number of years ago when the Wildlife Trust had a Heritage Lottery funded programme called Wild Coast Sussex. That has now come to an end, and we decided that it was such a brilliant initiative that we wanted to bring it into our sort of business as usual, which has now come into my area of work. So back when Wild Coast Sussex was beginning, we've worked with Odyssey Innovation that I've already mentioned earlier, right from the beginning. We were really just in the development phase of this programme, and throughout the short lifespan of that project, we managed to recycle over 26,000 kilograms of end-of-life fishing gear, which is really exciting, and of course that was just the beginning. So since then, we've had to sort new sources of funding. So as I mentioned earlier, Sussex Bay has kindly provided with some funds to keep us going. And we've also recently had a grant from Sea Changers, and we're receiving sponsorship from a group called Trundle. So what do we actually do on the ground? So here you can see a little infographic which details the sort of ins and outs of what the fishers can provide to us as part of the recycling scheme. We then either collect direct from the fishers, or we sort of provide a place where they can have a central repository for collection. The chap in the yellow coat there, he works for Exeter City Council and Odyssey Innovation. So Exeter City Council is where they have this specialist recycling centre that deals with all the waste. And the bottom right-hand picture there shows what it looks like once it's all kind of been sorted by the folk down at Exeter. So far, just in 2025, we've recycled over 7,000 kilograms of various types of fishing gear just along the Sussex coast. We're currently working in Newhaven, Shoreham, Worthing and Bognor Regis, and we hope to expand the programme all the way along the Sussex coast in the future. So what's next? Like I say, we want to be able to extend all the way along the Sussex coast, working with all the fishing stations and fishing ports and everyone in between. And we want to work more with local councils. We're already working with Ada and Worthing through Sussex Bay, but we'd really like to work with more so that we can create these central collection repositories. We need to continue seeking funds and sponsorship to keep that programme going. Unfortunately, it isn't something that we can do for free. So if you are interested in sponsoring the programme, please do get in touch. And we also want to buy back the raw materials to create useful products, such as this that Odyssey Innovation has created themselves, which is using those recycled materials to create a plastic kayak. There's all sorts of things that we could create with these newly formed materials that we get from these recycled fishing gears. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Sarah. It's so good to hear about that wonderful project. I'd like now to introduce you to Demi Heath, who is going to talk to us about how businesses can get involved in sustainability and nature recovery. Demi is a sustainability and B Corp consultant, and she's also co-chair of Brighton Be Local, which is a hub for all of the B Corp businesses in Brighton and Sussex. Demi.
Thanks so much, Rob. Hi, everyone. So I wear 4 different hats and they all involve B Corp. So as you might gather, I'm a bit of a B Corp nerd and passionate about business for good. For those who don't know what B Corp is, it's a movement and certification for sustainable businesses. We balance profit with purpose, focusing on positive impacts for all stakeholders, not just shareholders. So people, communities, and the planet. Now, I want to say happy birthday to Sussex Bay. This initiative is exactly what our region needs, and I was so awe-inspired at the launch last year, and of course, in all of the work that's been done in the year since. This past year globally, we've seen a lot of changes. So I want to speak to how businesses and individuals, we might enact some positive impact locally. To me, it feels like we're about to lose everything. Those responsible for the destruction and loss across the planet, the fossil fuel, weapons and finance industries, the richest 1% and the politicians who enable them are showing us time and again they will not let us vote that power away from them. So we need to reclaim that power in other ways. But what can you as an individual do? I'm not the first to say, stop being an individual. They want us to be individualistic and isolated and infighting. That works for them to maintain the systems that enable them to hold their power. So join a group, form connections. What are you passionate about? What brings you joy and contentment? It could be a sea swimming group, a D&D game, an anti-racist book group, a community garden, an activist group for Palestine, Free Palestine, Sussex Bay, or the B Corp movement. Anything that puts you in community with others. When we form more connections with one another, we build compassion and empathy in those communities. We see that we're not alone and we can fight for what is right together. So then what can we as businesses do? We can enable our staff to participate in these groups, set these groups up internally, support Sussex Bay directly with time and financing, or become a B Corp ourselves. Sussex Bay is fighting to protect our home, our part of the planet. The B Corp movement and the Brighton Be Local is fighting to transform businesses to be a force for good. So with the view of breaking down our individualistic society, our groups are working in collaboration with each other. I believe that local businesses have a huge role to play and a responsibility in the guardianship of Sussex Bay. After all, what are businesses but groups of people coming together in community? If our local ecosystems can't thrive, how do we expect our local society to? Our large tourism sector is reliant on a beautiful coastline. We attract business owners in the creative, digital and professional sectors to our city, in part, I think, because of our fantastic access to nature. As the co-chair for the Brighton Be Local and B Corp consultant, I see the work that Sussex Bay and all its partners are doing are absolutely essential to the economic health and vibrancy of our city. In turn, Brighton B Corps and Sussex B Corps support the local Sussex Bay ecosystem. We have net zero pathways in place, water reduction practices. We give staff time to volunteer and to work pro bono locally. We create innovative circular supply chains and give our spaces to community groups. One small step at a time, we're transforming our businesses to be a force for good. And in community, we're able to help each other too. So if Sussex Bay or B Corp make you feel passionate in a world that can feel completely overwhelming, I urge you to please join our groups. There's great information on the Sussex Bay Get in Touch page about ways to get involved. If you're already part of a B Corp, please join the Brighton Be Local LinkedIn group. If you're interested in becoming a B Corp, my business partner and I run a B Corp group course, Sussex Impact Pathway. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn for more information on that or visit our website. And speaking of my business partner, Ella Turner, in her role on the advisory board to Sussex Bay, is working with them to develop a Sussex Bay business partnership. There's 170 or so local businesses who have already said that they want to get involved. There'll be a discussion event in the autumn to devise a set of social and environmental commitments that members would be making together. So please watch this space. So whilst we may not politically vote away the power of those who only care about profit, we can vote in other ways. Vote with your wallet, support local B Corps and donate 1% to Sussex Bay if you're a business. Vote with your time, volunteer with Sussex Bay and all of its partners. Vote with your voice, use your platforms. If you have any power or privilege, use it to protect those who don't have any, including the planet. And of course, tell people to join groups, share ones that you're passionate about, including, I hope, B Corp and Sussex Bay. You're not alone. We hold power when we stand together. On Sussex Bay's first birthday, let's celebrate the work carried out for the protection of our unique home in this powerful coalition. Thank you so much to Sussex Bay and all of its partners. I've been Demi Heath. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Demi. And as Demi says, if your business or your employer wants to get involved, please do get in touch. Now we're going to hear from Dr. Shova Tapakaki, who is a senior lecturer in entrepreneurship and sustainability at the University of Sussex. Shova has been working with Sussex Bay on the Blue Governance model, which is a huge part of the enabling the collaboration, which is at the heart of the Sussex Bay vision. Shova.
Thank you, Rob, and hello, everyone. In my presentation, okay, here it is. I will be talking about the blue governance of Sussex Bay and what challenges and opportunities does it hold for the marine and coastal recovery. This project was commissioned by the Marine Management Organization to examine the multi-level marine planning approach in England with the aim to enhance equitable outcomes by using more inclusive and participatory decision making. This project was conducted in collaboration with Sussex Bay, particularly Lewis White, and my colleague at the School of Global Studies, Paulina van Hellerman. So the issue is that, as you can see in the slide, marine management decision-making around marine environment sits within the complex governance structure. To put this into perspective, in England, any decision-making activity around marine environment is basically guided by 11 marine plans. In Sussex Bay, which basically stretches from Chelsea to Cambersands, it encompasses 11 councils. So this already highlights the multi-structure, multi-level, but as well as nested governance structure. So the fundamental question here is, what is the appropriate scale for effective decision making? So the project, we focused in Sussex Bay to understand whether a place-based decision-making could be that scale. But before doing that, or basically answering that question, we wanted to examine what is the current state. So the Sussex Bay project basically focused on stakeholder views to gain a bottom-up understanding of how decisions have been made and also how the different stakeholders view the process of decision-making. Our starting point, we adopted a qualitative approach, and our starting point was about identifying different decisions. We did our own research, but we also reached out to our wonderful stakeholders of Sussex Bay to identify different decisions. Through this process, we identified 17 different decisions, out of which we focused in depth in 3 cases only. In addition to that, we also interviewed 25 participants, different stakeholders involving regulatory, non-regulatory, but as well as public bodies and citizens. And we also reviewed a secondary document in the form of organizational reports, articles, social media reports. One of the issues in here in terms of our methodology is that given the time period, which was around 4 months, we didn't manage to interview all the stakeholders, and we also didn't manage to conduct a systematic literature review. So in terms of the 3 cases that we deep dived into, we looked into particular issues. The first one was, what was these activities were about? Was it about seascape recovery? Was it about fisheries, coastal defense, flood resilience, water quality, or wastewater management? Then we also looked at the type of decision making. Was it about marine licensing? Was it about identifying designated areas? Or was it about water recycling? Then we also mapped the regulatory bodies involved and also the stakeholders involved in that particular decision making. So this included, the usual Marine Management Organization, Natural England, IFCA, CEFAS, Sussex Downs National Park, but also Sussex Wildlife Trust, fishermen, public bodies, charity organization, and private organizations like Southern Water. Then we also looked at how the decision-making process worked. As you can see on the table, this is an example of the Cuckmere Heaven. And what we see in here is that how different decisions were made subsequently, but in parallel, and how the decisions evolved throughout the process or throughout the given timeline, evolving into or developing into forming a partnership, but also an establishment of a charity organization to address specific problems faced by the communities. So based on the examination, we identified 8 critical cross-cutting issues that could basically be considered to enhance local decision making. They include transparency, stakeholder engagement, also the comprehensive approach. So to give you a perspective in terms of what does that mean? So transparency is much more about, is all the information out there? So it's not that the information isn't out there. There is information, but the challenge is that its accessibility, readability for the public. And also in terms of stakeholder engagement, it isn't that there isn't a stakeholder engagement. In some cases, there is deeper, much more detailed stakeholder consultation and engagement. But the challenge is, as we saw in the case of Cuckmere Heaven, often solutions aren't derived from those stakeholder engagement, or those affected stakeholders aren't included in the decision making. So based on these 8 cross-cutting issues, we proposed 2 recommendations. One is to take a comprehensive approach to decision-making, which means that considering a decision, because there are decisions within decisions, while making a decision, taking a place-based approach and also taking into account all the processes as well as decisions related to the place, also acknowledging past and related decision. The second recommendation is about enabling a place-based decision making through a single point for core decision. This is to ensure that everybody knows who is responsible, where to go, and basically where to find this information around a particular decision. So what are the next steps for us? Well, we are trying to basically now try to see if we can basically understand whether this single point of decision making can work in the context of Sussex Bay. And the impact of our project is that MMO are already considering the critical issues that we identified and also our recommendation to enhance locally informed marine planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Shova. And I'd like to welcome back now Dean, Eleni and Lewis, who are going to answer some of your questions. Thank you again for the submissions of the questions, and thank you very much for taking part in the vote. So first up, I'm going to come to you, Lewis, and I'd like to ask you, how does Sussex Bay identify its priorities, particularly where there may be conflicting interests?
Perfect. In my opinion, this is where the natural capital approaches really come into their own. They help us understand how the different priorities might come into interact with each other and how things might need to change. So with natural capital, we're utilising the ecological, environmental, social and economic research to highlight what might change were something to be intervened with. In other words, if we make an intervention, if we do something in the marine environment, what goes up, what goes down, and who loses out and who wins. That helps to have that conversation. That doesn't make the decision or set the priority, but it opens a conversation with communities to say, here is what we think needs to happen, how do we do it? So it's about that open communication and making sure that evidence is there for people to access.
Great, thank you, Lewis. Dean, I'd like to come to you for the next question. How will Sussex Bay help to get nature recovery pilots off the ground?
Oh, that's a great question, Rob. Thanks very much. We can't do it on our own, we can do it together. We've established the right mechanisms to enable that to happen. So we've set up the Blue Natural Capital Lab to bring in funding. There isn't any sustainable funding for the ocean, so we need funding in order to do the research and to create the right conditions. So we can create the right conditions by working with partners. At any one point, Sussex Bay is involved in around 60 projects at any one point, either leading the projects ourselves or working with partners. The blueprint for seascape recovery, which Lewis outlined earlier, will really enable us to make sure that we take a science and community-driven approach in all the work that we do through the long term. If you are watching this and you have ideas, if you're a scientist or an organisation and you'd like to get involved in our work, please do so.
Can I just add as well to that? The blueprint is going to set out those directions of travel. So an action in the water might be protection, it might be management, it might be going in the water and doing something, it might be changing people's attitudes. There's a lot of different actions that lead to recovery. And yeah, as Dean said, communities and collaboration is going to be at the heart of that.
Great, thank you. Eleni, I'd like to come to you now, and this is around shaping the future of Sussex Bay. And the question is, what efforts is Sussex Bay making to ensure that it is truly inclusive?
Inclusion is very much at the heart of Sussex Bay, and we really strive to listen to a variety of people, a variety of organizations, and to get to know initiatives. We're being very proactive at doing so. So first of all, the engagement plan, the participation and engagement plan involves a variety of community representatives where they contribute with their views and with their knowledge as well, and with their needs and suggestions. So that's very important to us. Also, in terms of events we organize, we try to be as accessible as possible, offering a variety of opportunities both online and in person. Also, we are creating our Sussex Bay Champions Network, which is going to help to shape the future of Sussex Bay and to also spread the word. And very importantly, we have a open doors policy. Like if you email Sussex Bay with a question, with a feedback, that is very welcome. So reach out to us, contact us, and give us your feedback. Make your suggestions. We are open to listening to everyone, because Sussex Bay is about everyone.
Great, thank you, Eleni. It's great having worked with the team quite closely to hear about that inclusivity and know the authenticity of that is tremendous. Dean, I'm going to come back to you. Now, obviously we've talked a bit about the future and we're talking about how we're shaping Sussex Bay and some of the plans and the innovations and what have you. But after a year of Sussex Bay, what are the key things you've learned? And what one message would you give to other nature projects, nature recovery projects?
What an amazing year we've had. It's been one of the most challenging but rewarding years in my life, basically. And what I would say to other nature projects is, as I said earlier, nobody has the skills, the resources to do all what's required on their own. Sussex Bay is creating the right conditions to be collaborative, to enable projects to happen. I would say be bold, creative, and above all else, be kind. We are learning from you as well, in terms of the organisations and expertise that you provide, in terms of us giving tips to you and you giving tips to us. If today you've seen anything, or you think, oh, actually I'd like to talk to the team about that, or I wasn't quite sure what that meant, or why did they use that word, get in touch with us. We're doing work that has never been done in this way before in the UK. Every day we're learning, every day is a challenge in Sussex Bay, but it's such a rewarding challenge and we can't do it without you.
Great, thank you, Dean. And obviously, Dean, you spoke earlier about some of your personal highlights, and I just wanted to put Eleni and Lewis on the spot, just to see, do you have any personal highlights from your time with Sussex Bay?
I have various highlights. I think the application process was one of the highlights. I am on the job now for about 7 weeks only, and learning all the details about Sussex Bay blew me away and made me want so much to be this person, and I am so privileged, so lucky to be in this position. But then, you know, since starting my job, I have been meeting a variety of people, and the highlights are all about the people I'm meeting. A couple of weeks ago, I dived with Sussex Underwater, invited by the very Eric Smith, local legend, and we visited an artificial reef that's being designed and deployed by another local legend, visionary fisher, Alan Minter. So that was a great highlight, and yes, going to schools, engaging students, listening to their views, their aspirations, their questions, their suggestions. All these has been amazing and a very steep learning curve for us all. And I can't wait to continue this work.
Wonderful, thank you. Lewis?
So I can't agree more that the people has been such a huge part of this. The momentum that I'm feeling and the hope that I'm feeling when I'm talking to people about this work that's probably my biggest highlight. And then the second one as a scientist and data nerd is seeing the evidence starting to come in and seeing that we're close to the data, but we're also close to the bay, the Sussex Bay, and so I can see that this information is going to be useful for making change already, and that's really exciting. So the excitement that's building, that's probably my highlight as well.
Great, that's really good to hear, thank you. Thank you. So Dean, back to you now. See, Sussex Bay is a seascape project essentially. How is Sussex Bay linking the land and the sea? So, for example, could it work with sustainable local food systems and the like?
You see, that's a great question. Earlier in the slides, we talked about all of the emerging areas. Our priority is people and nature, but we have so many emerging areas. It was fantastic a few months ago to talk to the Brighton and Hove Food Partnership to look at the relationship between food production, the land and the sea. Working with our friends and colleagues at Wheel to Waves, linking to the Nep Estate. What a fantastic project that's been in terms of mapping out green corridors from land over other people's land with our agreement to sea and Sussex Bay. It's an interesting area for us. Sussex Bay is trademarked back to the people, back to local government. And we're looking very carefully at food to see if we can launch a range of sustainable Sussex Bay products. If you've done that before, if you're an organisation that's launched a product, use a trademark, please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. I think it's an example as well, to be honest with you, where we need to think together as a team about how we can get more involved in that with just the three of us. We can't do it again on our own, so if you have interest and expertise in that, give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you, especially if you ask that question, give us a shout.
Thank you, indeed. Over to you, Lewis, for the next question. How is Sussex Bay collaborating with neighbouring marine projects like Three Harbours Strategy and the Solent Seascape project?
Fantastic. So those are amazing strategies and amazing projects that are going on just next door. The main thing we're doing to them is listening and learning. There's so much learning, not just there, but nationally and internationally, as Dean mentioned in his talk. So yeah, that's the main thing we're doing. We're looking, we're listening, we're having those conversations, and we're learning from what they've already done. Within that, there's areas that we can collaborate in terms of marine monitoring and evidence. It's always good to align those sort of practices to make sure that the evidence collected is useful for more and more people. So as we're developing our research, we're looking to them for advice and learning from what they've done. And of course, as we get onto individual projects in the water, there's no point doing this alone. I think it goes back to what Dean was saying. There's no one person with all the expertise. There are expertise that they have in those programs that we can definitely learn from.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, I think we've probably got time for just perhaps one more question. And I'd like to go back to the question from Karen from the northeast of England, who asked, what would 1-year-old Sussex Bay go back and say to baby Sussex Bay if it could go back in time, if it had the chance? What would it say? I suppose that's a question for all of us here.
I'll kick us off. Thank you, Karen, for asking that question. Karen was part of the interview panel for myself. What a great question that is. I'm going to answer it in two parts. Literally, to a newborn, you're in a great part of the world. You're in an area which has vision to enhance and protect our natural world in terms of land, ocean, for future generations. And hopefully one day, the beach, the sea, nature will be your playground in safe and kind ways. In terms of kind of more strategically, go for it. Collaborate. Be the best version of yourself. Weather the storms. Keep going. Ask questions that don't always have immediate answers. And personally for me, build a fantastic team of people around you immersed in a big network.
Any other additions to that you would go back and perhaps tell yourself when you started? Or
I think the be bold is a really good one to say. I think be bold and go for it is really, really fantastic. Ask for more money. That's what I'd say.
Be a good listener. Listening is very important to build trust, and it is impossible to have long-term partnerships and collaborations without trust. So we are listening, and I think we have been doing this right. So I think that's the way forward. Keep listening.
Great. Well, Sussex Bay team, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. We're going to wrap up the Q&A there, and so just remains for me to say thank you very much. But of course, that's not the end of this webinar. Sussex Bay, the project, of course, and of course all the projects in the region that are collaborating, they regularly attract attention in the media and from celebrities such as Joanna Lumley, Stephen Fry and His Majesty King Charles have all sent us messages of support. One such celebrity supporter is TV presenter and comedian and diving enthusiast Zoe Lyons. I caught up with Zoe Lyons last week to find out why she's such a keen supporter of Sussex Bay and blue nature.
Well, it's my pleasure to speak to Zoe Lyons. Zoe, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
First of all, just really interested to know what's your connection to Sussex Bay and why do you support the idea?
I'm connected to Sussex Bay because I am a citizen of the Sussex Bay area. I'm very lucky, and I live right on the coast here in Hove, and yeah, I enjoy the Sussex coastline on a daily basis. So that is why I'm a very keen supporter of Sussex Bay.
And you like to dive a bit,
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that. And
I've got to be very honest with you, Rob. Right. I'm a fair weather diver. I don't do an awful lot of diving in the UK, but I started diving about 9 years ago, and it just gave me such an incredible insight into the world that most people don't see, and just the incredible ecosystem under the water, and the variety of life and species and everything that is down there. So I can't look at the sea now and not think, what's underneath? What's going on? How's it doing? Is it all right? Every time I walk down to the seafront here in Brighton, I want to know what's underneath. I want to know how it's doing. So I think once you've spent time in the water like that, it just gives you a real insight into how important marine life is, and how we should be doing everything we can to protect it.
Yeah, and that's a real sort of hopeful. That's kind of a really optimistic curiosity.
Yeah.
So this message of hope that we've talked about, and that people have heard about on through Sussex Bay.
Yeah.
Tell us more about your sense of hope for the future.
Yeah, I think, in a world where we are so acutely aware of the environmental challenges that we're all facing, and it can at times be incredibly overwhelming, and it can, I think it results naturally to sort of climate fatigue or environmental fatigue. And you're sitting here going, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? There's nothing I can do that'll make anything better. And I think with Sussex Bay, the whole ethos of it is, it's condensing it down to 100 miles of coastline in the south of England, with bringing together groups that are doing beautiful little projects in order to make a much bigger impact. And it's condensing that idea that you can make big changes being part of a little thing, and it's a huge sort of beacon of hope. And we've got the Sussex, the kelp fields out off Bognor Regis that are coming back. The Sussex of the water project, they're doing all of that, which is joyful. It's lovely. It results in more wildlife coming to the area. It results in us being able to enjoy the wildlife, and it's a tiny example of how very dedicated, passionate people can make a real impact. Yeah.
And it's great that Sussex Bay is supported by people like yourself and citizens like yourself.
Yeah.
What would you say to your fellow residents of Sussex and Sussex Bay?
Yeah, get out and get involved in as little way as you can. Whatever you can do. It's little things. It's there'll be beach cleans near you. There'll be projects near you that you can find out about. And it just getting involved and getting interested in it is really important. It's really important because, if we don't look after it, it's not going to be there. It really isn't. And I find it fascinating in a country where we're obsessed with, David Attenborough has done so much to encourage our interest in environment. And I think often it's really simple to ignore what's literally on your doorstep.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to Papua New Guinea. You don't have to do all of those things. It's there. It's all there, and it needs our help. And it's, if we encourage younger people as well to really get interested in nature, then their love of it will make sure that it's there for years to come. That's the only thing we can do. It is.
Zoe, thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Zoe, for your support. Now, we couldn't put on an event like this without hearing from the man who was behind the Sussex Bay concept right from the start. He's a modest yet visionary leader, a kind and passionate advocate for nature, and he's the interim chief executive at Ada and Worthing Councils, Paul Brewer.
Hello everybody, I'm Paul Brewer. I work at Ada and Worthing Councils, and I've been involved in Sussex Bay from the beginning. Behind me is the glorious sunny Sussex Bay. What we have been trying to do with Sussex Bay is to make it a really hopeful vision for the next generation, for my sons and his children and everybody else that lives here. We really hope that people can see through the blueprint work that we have all sorts of opportunities to restore nature and bring life back to the sea. We're starting to see bluefin tuna skipping out of the water, the dolphins in bigger pods. We want to create habitats to see much more life return to our seascape. There are so many amazing projects and community groups already working in this field, but what's lacking a little bit is their ability to find each other, to connect with each other, and to grow these networks of people more. We want people to really see a future which isn't just about nature restored and a thriving seascape, but new opportunities to work and enjoy our Sussex Bay. Thank you for your help wherever you are in the system, whether you're from a large organisation, a small group or an individual. We want to give you opportunities to connect and be a part of what is a generational mission to restore Sussex Bay.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you to all our speakers today. And most of all, thanks to you for taking the time to join this webinar. It's now just for me to hand back over for the last time to Head of Sussex Bay, Dean Spears.
Thank you, Rob, and it falls to me to say the closing words before introducing an inspiring short film from Sir David Attenborough. I'm going to look at my notes at the side to make sure I don't forget anybody in these words of thanks. When I stood on stage a year ago at Brighton Dome and announced that we'd do all of this work, a year later, it's brilliant to see it all coming together. If you get a chance this evening, do take a look at our website and take a read through the blueprint and our annual report. We'll upload it this evening once we've got packed up and gone home. Look into the year ahead. It's going to be great together as we continue with our vision, mission and 3 work areas. Turning to thank yous, I'll always remember Rob, Di, Sam, Ruth and Kate sitting around the Allcrofts dining table a year and a half ago thinking, hello, we're Sussex Bay, how are we going to do this? And forming that early strategy, that vision, guided by collaboration, so key to us and to where we are now. Thank you, Rob. To our Lewis, Faye, Eleni in the team, I'm loving with you as we carry the Sussex Bay world on our shoulders with humour and the occasional fashion tip from Dr. White. And to everyone across the hundreds of organisations and groups that you've accepted Sussex Bay into your networks with grace and care, and it's really appreciated. Henry and Chris and Sarah from Sussex Wildlife Trust, Sussex Underwater, Locate Productions, Indigo Productions, members of SMAC F, our advisory group, Anita Grant, Bud Johnson and Kelly Smith, and of course Paul Brewer. Paul, who would have thought 20 years ago, when we're at Brighton and Hove City Council in completely different paths, we'd be here today doing Sussex Bay. And finally, before we hand over to Sir David Attenborough for an inspirational short film, thank you to my family and my partner for putting up with me over the last year. I'm sorry I'm not in Madrid with you at the moment, but I'll see you at the weekend as you watch this in 30-degree heat. Thank you for allowing Sussex Bay into our family and for all that it has taken from us. If everything goes to plan, this time next year we'll be parents for the first time. And I know then that I can look my son in the eye and say, you know what? We at Sussex Bay are doing everything we can to put nature and people together first. Thank you. Without further ado, let's listen to more eloquent words with respect and gratitude to nature from Sir David Attenborough. Thank you.
If children don't grow up knowing about nature and appreciating it, they will not understand it. And if they don't understand it, they won't protect it. And if they don't protect it, who will?